Today's video, the single cable eave panel being installed on an asphalt shingle roof. The single cable eave panel, typically installed on an asphalt shingle roof, is installed over the first course of shingles and flashed up underneath the second course. The single cable eave panel can be alternately fabricated with an extended drip edge for roofs that have no gutters. Using a putty knife or other flat-bladed scraping or separating tool, force the tool up between the first and second course, separating or breaking the bond or seal between the two courses, and work your way along, carefully separating the two courses. This is best done when it's cooler outside rather than in the heat of the sun or when the shingles have warmed up. They will separate much more easily when they're cool. After having separated the entire second course from the first course on the run you're doing, remove the plastic film that is the protective layer on all the eave panels and the splice covers. On the starting end of the panel, measure over 3 inches, make a mark, and then with an aviation snips or a tin snips, cut through the bottom portion of the flange all the way over to the front bend, and then cut along that bend so that you can fully remove that entire piece. With a needle nose or bull nose pliers, fold down or close that end so that it creates a rounded edge to protect the heat cable. Having routed the heat cable through the gutter bottom and then routing the cable also on top of the gutter support hangers, and that's the heat cable that you're going to install into the eave panel. Start by sliding the eave panel underneath the shingles, pushing it in almost all the way. That will allow you then to have the piece somewhat supported, somewhat held in place. And pick up the panel slightly so that you'll be able to move the heat cable up underneath and start pulling it in, pulling it towards you, pulling it into the heat cable channel. Once the heat cable is fully seated in the channel, the panel can be pushed up so that the leading edge of the shingles are butt against the edge of the heat cable. With our 5-foot eave panel, there are 4 screws provided, 2 8 inches in from either end, and then 2 more equally spaced throughout the panel. The screws should be driven perpendicular to the roof surface so that the rubber grommet can seat flush against the roof panel. Be careful not to overdrive or you could cause distortion or dimpling of the panel. The screw should lay flush and fully perpendicular so that the rubber grommet can fully seat on the panel. Continue along in the same fashion as the first panel, all the way along to the other end, sliding the panel up underneath the shingles and tucking the heat cable into the channel that's provided at the front lip. There should be a 1-inch gap approximately between each successive panel. Again, fastening 8 inches in from either end, and then 2 equally spaced fasteners in the middle of the panel. Continue successively fastening and installing panels all the way along until you reach the other end. There's a joint cover supplied for each joint between the splice panels. Slide the splice cover up over the joint, up underneath the shingles, and push it into place. This will completely overlap that joint. And once it's in position, use one fastener in the center of the joint cover so that you're fastening through that 1-inch gap to fully secure the joint cover in place. Don't forget at the far end also to notch out the panel. Having these notches 3 inches in from either end allows the cable to have a soft loop up into the panel from the gutter bottom, which means that the cable will not be too sharply bent and will not have cold spots. Again, we see a completed single cable Eave panel installation, covering over the first course and tucking up underneath the second course of shingles, along with the cable cover bracket in the gutter bottom, which securely houses the heat cable and holds it flat to the gutter bottom, improving its efficiency and protecting the heat cable. Please check out our other helpful videos in our how-to series by Edge Melt Systems. Certainly thanks for taking the time to watch, and don't forget to subscribe.